Welcome, everyone. My name is Linda G. Robert, and today I'm meeting with David Campbell. And David is a speaker, a trainer, a consultant, a facilitator, a business coach, and a mentor, and an author as well. And we'll talk about your latest book, later on during the interview. A bit of a bio for David. David has an underlying belief that all business leaders and managers are people who express faith in themselves, their product, their service, their staff, their client, and that having a firm understanding of this faith will see them through. Welcome, David. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be able to be on with you.
So the first thing I want to ask is a little bit more about your bio. Managers are people who express faith in themselves, their product, and so on. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I come from a strong Christian background, so I have faith that is in a biblical God, and one of the things that I've discovered with business owners is, regardless of whether they've got a religious faith or not, they have to have some level of faith in what they're doing and why they're doing it. Otherwise, why would they bother? And so what I like to try and do is tap into that faith, because most people don't recognize it as, in essence, a statement of faith, a statement of belief in oneself. And so out of that, I then develop this process where they have a better understanding of themselves, a better understanding of why they're in business. And from that, that's the foundation that they can grow from.
Mm-hmm. How would you recognize that in a client when you first meet? Well, this is a great question, because we're talking about faith, and sometimes that can get into a bit of a deeper conversation. So when you first meet a client, how would you know that? Or how would you maybe recognize that they don't have faith?
The statement that you made in the bio is that I actually recognize that everyone's got faith in something. Even people who don't believe in God actually have a faith in something. Right, a faith that they're going to wake up the following morning. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to connect that walk of faith in whatever it is with the actual business connection that you've got. Because business owners who are listening to this right now will recognize, yes, I have faith in the product that I've got. That's why I started the business. I believed that I had something that people could work with, that people could actually benefit from. That's faith in yourself.
Yes.
And so you're wanting to come on board and actually understand that sort of underlying principle that you've got and help you carry it forward in your business.
That's right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business, or they wouldn't be selling their product or hiring the people that they've chosen to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
To work for them. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how did you become a business coach and a mentor?
Another great story, or another great question. I started with a background in the Royal Australian Navy. So I had a 20-year maritime background. And while I was there, I was in a position where I could give orders to sailors and all the rest of it, and they would do what I said they had to do. I discovered through that journey of growing as a naval officer that if I actually coached people, and I didn't know it as coaching back then, but if I coached people, help them to understand the why of what they were doing and get them to buy in behind that vision, that they would actually perform better and more efficiently. And so it wasn't for years and years and years that I then discovered that's actually what coaching is. Coaching is about coming alongside somebody, helping them recognize their dreams, their visions, their desires, their goals, and then helping them to move towards that. But it's about them moving forward, not me dragging them forward. And so I went through the process of my military career and then into public, private, not-for-profit sectors as an executive manager. And I got to the point where I thought, I enjoy coaching and I enjoy it enough to start it as a business and do it professionally. So I went out and I did some training. I basically put meat on the bones of stuff that I already had. And so I went and attended the John Maxwell University and got my certifications through John Maxwell organisation. And and so I've started a business coaching program or business since then.
And
that's
now I want to between coaching and consulting, because you're also a consultant as well.
Yeah. So consulting is very different from coaching. Consulting is that ability to come into a business and ask, yes, the right questions, but then give some direction, give some sort of a report. This is what I have discovered. This is where I think you should go. So it's a totally different mindset from coaching. Coaching is very much, I don't necessarily know how to do your job, but I can help you do your job. And the example that I like to give with that is when I first started coaching, when I first did my training with coaching, they actually handed out juggling balls. And they said to people, here are 3 juggling balls. We want you to coach the person next to you on how to juggle. And everyone's natural reaction was to, okay, let's have a go. And then you would hear the coach saying, well, how about you give this a try? How about you give that a try? And they were trying to tell people how to juggle, even though they didn't know how to juggle. And it was laughable. And they acted and said, look, stop what you're doing. You want to ask questions, not tell. And so then from having this, why don't you try this and try that, to what worked that time differently. And literally within 5 minutes, the chap that I was working with never juggled a ball in his life, was doing a 3-ball juggle within 5 minutes, just from us standing there saying, what could you try differently? Let's give that a go. Well done. Right. That didn't work quite as we expected. What could we change?
Right.
And so it's about that encouragement, but the questions and I suppose as I said earlier, getting beside a person and encouraging them forward.
Well, there's the difference there.
Yeah.
Instead of telling someone what to do, you're asking them what's working and what can you do to improve what might be working or not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And so with the consulting side, I certainly bring a massive background in project management and administration and organizational structure and efficiency gains and all the rest of it. I bring that because I've done it. So I can consult in that area. But to be honest, I just enjoy the coaching.
Would you say that it's a little easier to coach? Or is it's more work for the client than for you? Like, tell me why you enjoy coaching more.
It's definitely more work for the client than it is for me, because I'm a coach that will never send a client away without homework. And so, I literally got off a call prior to coming on with you, and the girl that I was coaching there, she's walked away with 5 things that she needs to finish before next week. So I am a firm believer, if you don't put things into action, you'll never get there. Right. And so So I always give homework, but coaching for me it is hard work because it's about being present in the moment for
Mm,
that client for that 45 minutes. And then you stop and you've got 15 minutes to gather yourself and you're into the next one. Consulting, you can ask questions, go away, think it through, process it, all the rest of it. So it's the two are very different from a cerebral point of view.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
enjoy the coaching because I enjoy seeing people get to a point where I I've moved from here over to here. I've actually moved.
mm-hmm,
And that is what coaching is all about. It's about
mm-hmm.
shift.
So from a client's perspective, where they might be used to being, given suggestions and advice, how do you help them shift that now?
It's really in the questioning. It's really in
Mm,
the
mm, mm-hmm,
you've got the answer. That one of the things I say to a lot of people is I believe the answers are within you.
mm,
And if they're not within you, you know where to go to get them. My job is to bring that out. I love there's an
so
old sort of not an anecdote, but a story of old coaches. If you think about the Queen and or the King now, and they ride in this royal coach from one location to another. The purpose of that coach is to transport something of value from one place to another place. And
mm-hmm,
I like that analogy because it aligns with my thinking of my role as a coach is to bring something of value from here over to here.
mm-hmm, mm. Now, I'm sorry, I can't help but notice there's this big ship behind you. And it's, sorry, I had to say something. Could you tell us why it's there?
So a little bit of a story behind the ship. Obviously, with my maritime background, I like ships. I like sailing, but I didn't ever serve in a ship like that. I served in military ships, obviously, but I've always enjoyed the concept of sailing ships. I've always wanted to own. Originally, it was a man of war. It was one of the ships of the line, I suppose they used to be referred to. So they were ships that had 3 or 4 masts. They had cross spars and sails off those, and my wife has never been keen on that type of a ship.
Okay.
I was told you can't have one of those. And we were traveling in Canada about 5 years ago, and I saw the model that's behind me.
Okay.
The ship itself is called the Blue Nose. Um, it's
Right.
a
Nova Scotia? Was it in Nova Scotia?
that's it.
Right.
No,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it was built specifically to race to be the fastest ship out to the fishing banks, catch the fish, and get back to market faster than anybody else. So, in other words, getting the best price for the fish and all that sort of stuff. But the model itself, I really like. I like the look of it. It's a beautiful looking vessel,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
so I bought a model of the ship while I was in Canada, and it got packed up and sent back to Australia by, I think it went via the moon or Mars or somewhere like that. It took a long time to get to us. And when it got here, it was a little bit damaged and I had to do some repairs and put it all together.
Oh,
So the
so
ship,
this, I was just going to ask, so this wasn't a model that you actually had to put together with the glue and so on, right?
I've had to do some gluing on it, and
Oh,
I had to do a
okay.
small gluing on it. aside from just the repair. So,
Okay.
and then I had to rig the sails and all those sort of things. So it was, it was a bit of an effort to put it together. But I've had that model now for, well, 5-6 years. And it sat on the mantelpiece in our lounge room. And sorry, I'm taking a bit of time around this story, but sat on the mantelpiece in our lounge room. And I recently, a couple of years ago, went through a journey with cancer, and I was having chemotherapy. And I was sitting in our lounge room one day, just contemplating life, because that's what you do when you have cancer and chemo and radiation.
Of course,
And
yes.
so I was sitting there and I was looking at this model of the ship, and it suddenly dawned on me that life on board a sailing ship and all of the interactions that occur around a sailing ship doing what it does is exactly the same as life in a business.
Really? Well, I want to know more about that.
And so
We'll get to that.
I'll quickly share with you, because it's an ideal time just to talk to you about that minor component. Let me just share a graphic that I've got.
All right.
Hopefully you can see that.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so keeping in mind the sailing ship.
Well, it's a blank screen right now.
It is, but we've now bought the.
Okay.
So that's the keel of the sailing ship. And so if you think about it, the keel is the thing that is the most straight, firm foundation of the sailing ship. Everything anchors into it. The hull, the masts, everything anchors back down into the keel. And so in the same way in a business, why are you there? What's your mission? What are your values? That is the keel and the hull of your ship. So I now went the wrong way. So I now add the hull of our ship. Okay. So now we're talking about the values, the vision, all those sort of things. But then we fill in the bit in the middle, the between decks is the term. And so for a fishing vessel, you're building room to put fish. You're building room for people to sleep. You're building room for people to eat. All of those sort of things. So you build that into your ship. In the same way in a business, you build into it the things that you are going to be doing. And then from there, you then add the masts. And the masts are the product that you actually sell. Me, I've got coaching services, I've got consulting services, I've got elements of the coaching where I might actually just do a day's facilitation or something along those lines. So the mast is anchored into the vision, the values, the keel, in the same way that your business anchors its stuff into your vision and your values.
Right.
So then we add to it the rigging. And the rigging is the ropes and all that sort of stuff.
What are these? What's this part? What is this part called?
Rigging. RIGGING.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And it's the ropes, the ladders, all those sort of things that hold the masts upright. Now, what happens with these is that when the wind blows in the sails, it pushes against the mast. If the mast was there by itself, it would just simply fall over. And so the rigging holds the mast up, and it transfers that forward force of energy into the forward motion of the ship. In the same way, the rigging in our business is, what are our processes? What are our procedures? What are our customer engagement strategies? What are all of those sort of things that hold our products up so that when we actually get sales, we're moving forward in our business?
Right.
Okay. So then we add the sales. Sales are literally what you know as sales. Where are you putting it? Facebook, Google, Snapchat, you know, whatever it is you're selling, what's that platform? So that then catches the wind, transfers it into the rigging and the mast, which then moves your ship forward. And that gives us the full image of the ship.
Right. Wow.
And so it's a great analogy. And the reason I like to use the analogy is that so many business owners are so used to thinking about their business that they are so locked into this is what's going on. And what I want to try and do is get them to go up the crow's nest so that they can actually get a better view of what's going on. And I do that by giving them this analogy to think about. What would happen if I pulled up another sail? Have I got the infrastructure to support that sail, or do I need something more? And so I get them to think outside their business using the analogy of a sailing ship. And then I say, right, now let's put that back into your business. And every single one of them has gone, oh, wow, I get it.
Right.
It's about helping them change the way they think.
Okay. So then how would this metaphor relate to their challenges or maybe their opportunities that their business might face?
In exactly the same way that it would for a sailing ship. You take your sailing ship out of the harbour. You know, there's a great old saying, a ship in a harbour is safe, but that's not what ships were built for.
Right.
We are obligated. If we own a ship, we've got to take it out of a harbour and we've got to sail somewhere. And so we come across obstacles. We come across really foul weather, you know, big waves, storms, all the rest of it. Or we come across weather where there's no wind. And so we can't go anywhere because we're just not getting those sails through the door. It's just not happening for us. What do we do? And we look around us and we look over there and we see the business that's like ours over there is making mega sales. Why are we not selling stuff that they are? And so, you know, the analogy there is back in the days of sail, you'd put the lifeboats over the side and you would tow your ship by rowing into where the wind was. And so it's about helping people come to grips with that analogy and say, well, what could I do? How could I think differently? What could I apply to this particular situation that is going to help me grow my business, move my business forward? So we attack the obstacles. Absolutely, we attack the obstacles.
So could you share an example of a client, a case where this metaphor was, aha, now I know exactly what I need to do, and then you can see the business sailing away in that. Can you share an example?
The simplest one that I can share is I did a training course a while back where I was just teaching people generally how to start a new business. You know, what are the things you need to consider? And there was a lady on that course who wanted to start a business of editing books.
Is that the lady that I saw on your website? Because there's a beautiful testimonial. Okay,
yes.
Great. Great,
and so
great.
Sitting in this class, it was about week 2, and we were talking about the keel and the hull and all that sort of stuff. And I walked over to her, and just in the engagement, she said, you know, I'm going down this path, but I'm not going to go there until I'm comfortable that I can make a living out of this. And it just suddenly dawned on me that she had built a ship. She'd put this ship into the water beside the pier, and she was standing with one foot on the ship and one foot on the dock. And while ever she was standing there, that ship was never going to sail. And I actually said to her at that stage, your small business will not go anywhere.
Mm.
And she was so offended by that.
Well, I can just imagine.
I'm going to David, but he's wrong. And so she did. She went out, she did her sums, she did a calculation, everything, worked out that she could make a run of this. And so she did, she stepped out. And then she came back to me, I think it was maybe 6 months later, and said, I've pushed out from the dock, but now I don't know what to do. So I've been coaching her since then. And we've grown her from a $30,000 turnover. Last year, she turned over in excess of 400,000. So wow. it grows the business, but she's now, her thinking has changed. Oh. She now looks at, a job comes in. Previously, she would have said, oh, no, that's too big for me. Now she says, actually, I could attack by subcontracting out that bit and that bit, but I could make some money on it. And she's looking at things. Right. And it's through the use of this analogy and that constant challenge and that constant encouragement. And, have you tried throwing the balls in the air this way? And, letting her have a go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, you've mentioned that you give homework and that you told this lady pretty well straight out, it's not going to work. Is this part of your coaching approach?
I don't do that for every client.
So tell us more. So tell us more about that then, about your approach.
Look, it's my approach is, I want to be at a point where my clients and I are friends. Above all things, we're friends. And so I will give homework because I think homework is important to growing and moving forward. But I won't necessarily challenge someone in the same way that I did with Kelly. There are other people who've got a great business and they're just wanting to grow that business, and they're looking for me to coach them through that process. And so it's about helping them understand where they're lacking and how can we fill that lack. And it's not necessarily about sending them off to go and get more training. It could be about bringing a person in beside them or a consultant or whatever to get them over this hump and moving forward. And so I tailor all of my coaching sessions to the individual. Yes, I've got this framework, but this framework isn't just about let's look at the keel, let's look at the decks, let's look at the hull, let's look at the mast. It could be my ship is there and I'm sailing. I'm just not quite sure where to go. Okay, let's look at navigation. How do you navigate? How do you make decisions? When you make a decision, do you make it so that it impacts your business in small increments so that we're turning? Or do you do a radical course change and everything falls off the shelves? So it's about understanding where they're at in their business and then what can I contribute to help that go forward. See, I don't like these programs that simply say, it's an 8-week program, do this, and you're out the other end. It's about
so I want to shift.
Go on.
Thank you. I want to shift gears. I want to talk about your current book titled Observations from the Quarterdeck. About this, please.
So the title may change.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But it started out as Observations from the Quarterdeck, the Grand Adventure of Business. For two reasons. Firstly, the quarterdeck is actually the bit out of the way, at that end.
Oh, okay.
So it's at the back where you steer the vessel. That's the quarterdeck. And it's the commanding officer that stands on the quarterdeck and observes what's going on. So it's about observing your business.
Right.
And so what I'm doing with the book is I'm breaking down these analogies into chapters, and I'm talking about what you can do in that chapter, and I'm linking it to some past experience I've got in the military or in private sector, public sector, whatever. So I'm telling little anecdotal stories, but there's a meaning behind the learning. And so that's where the coming.
So what's the purpose of this book? What's the message behind it?
The purpose of the book is that I've just got a book in me.
It has to come out.
Yeah.
You have a story to tell.
I actually don't care if I don't sell a copy.
Okay. But sounds very interesting.
But in saying that, I know that clients are going to grab a copy. I know that there will be interest because it's bringing a new perspective to something that people think is really, really difficult. But if we break it down, if we break business down, it's actually a series of really simple, easy steps. The trick is to know which ones to take when, where, and how. And so I'm just wanting to get that book out of me, in essence.
Did you have to do any research? Oh, sorry about that. Please continue.
No, that's all right. So in terms of research, no, the book is more an anecdotal sort of conversation from the author about thoughts. And so I might suggest that people look at the important and it's now gone out of my head. Urgent important matrix. So it's a matrix that helps us make decisions around how we should prioritize work. I might suggest that they go and have a look at that. But in the scheme, really, it's a story that is just simply saying, here's a concept of sales. This is some stuff that I've tried. When I was in the Navy, one of the things we had to do was actually learn and get a ticket, so a license to sail a vessel.
Oh, right.
And so we had to understand the impact of the wind. We had to understand how to rig a sailing vessel or a yacht or whatever it might have been. All of those sort of things. Understand the impact that you can sail into the wind but still go forwards by trimming what you're doing. Now, the learning out of that is if your business is pushing hard into a particularly difficult period, you can still go forward with sales. You just have to trim them differently. So you might market slightly differently. And so we bring that analogy to bear in that conversation.
I love the metaphor because it can go a long way to explain many different facets of the business itself.
Absolutely.
So we're coming near the end of the interview. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Anything else at all?
I suppose that the challenge that I've got for people is that anyone who's listening to this who's in a business of their own or contributing significantly to a business, and you find yourself stuck, where are we going next? What is next on the agenda? Those sorts of things. Then I'd love it if they could connect with me, and I know I can help them. But aside from that, try to get into your head there is a different way of thinking about this business, because that's the problem we have. So many of us are in business and we just follow this path that says this is how we've done it, and it's a statement that I have heard and I hate hearing. Oh, we've always done it that way. Why?
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, have we tried something else? And so it's, you know, for me, it's literally helping people understand that you can think differently about your business, which generates more business.
So it sounds like you do work with solopreneurs, like the
I
lady
do it.
that you worked with.
Yep.
And
Yep.
do you also work with medium-sized?
So I've got a few clients at the moment who are, I'm working with a marketing company, digital marketing company, and they've got 40 staff spread across
Mm-hmm.
two. I'm working with an IT provider, and he's got staff. It's not 40, I think it's about 25 staff, but they're spread across 3 continents. So they're here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They've got staff in South Africa and they've got staff in the Philippines. And so, you know, I work with those larger organisations. I work with government
Right.
organisations. And so, yeah, go in, help them understand how better to work as a team. You know, one of the skill sets that I've got and the training I've got is in DISC personality profiles.
Right. Okay.
And
Tell us a bit
so
about that.
I I used to think personality profiles were a bit of a waste of time until I started to understand the sheer benefit of being able to adjust how I communicate to people who are a different profile to me, a different personality to me, a different modality. And so
Mhm.
I've found that over the years that you can actually create faster rapport by talking the language that someone else absorbs. And so that's what I try to bring into the business area. You know, help a team understand this is what we're all like as a team, and this is what our customers are generally like. And so if I can build a better
Mm.
rapport with customers, I get more sales. So
So
yeah,
that's an inventory. That's an inventory, a tool that you use to
yeah.
help the team, to help the organization. Are there Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I know
Um,
we could go on because it's so interesting.
Probably one thing in closing, and that is that I'm putting together a course. Well, it's not a course. I'm putting together a free webinar that
Mm.
aimed at helping people see this model at work. And I'm happy for people to take this and apply it. What they get from that is, okay, you can do it yourself, great, do it yourself. But if you want to do it with me, then I'm
Right.
putting together a program that people can do that. And so that'll be
Wonderful.
launched next month or so. And so again, I'll be putting it out on my LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts. So if you want to connect with me through LinkedIn, you will definitely get visibility of that course coming online.
Okay, and we will add your link here
Yeah,
to this video. How else can people find you, get a hold of you? We've got
so
LinkedIn, your website.
absolutely. Yeah, through my website is the other one. So LinkedIn, Facebook, through my website. Website, again, I'm assuming you'll put the URL up there, but it's
Yep.
fairly straightforward. David-campbell.com.au. So for our non-Australian people, it's the AU is I'm in Australia.
Right. So just on that note, it sounds like you work with people from all over the world, basically.
Yeah.
Once you figure out the time, the time thing.
Well, once we can sort out the time, and then of course along comes daylight saving and throws everything out the window. So, but yeah, once we've worked out an ideal time, away we go.
That's wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again for for having agreed to meet with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the viewers will appreciate it as well. Thank you again, and we will make sure that we add the links to your website as well as your LinkedIn profile.
Thanks,
Thank you
Linda.
so much, David. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
I will. Thank you.